After multiple first dates and nothing beyond that, I feel very low on confidence. What are your thoughts?
What do you say? After multiple first dates?
After multiple first dates, so essentially, basically, he's probably had dates with multiple women, had first dates with multiple women, and they probably have not gone further than that.
Yeah, you got to understand is that repetition is the mother of skill. And especially if you're socially awkward or maybe you were like a late bloomer, you weren't that popular in high school, your buddies were all getting laid. It's you are where you are. Your journey is your own journey. You shouldn't compare yourself to other people because if you do, there's always somebody that's more successful, that's better looking, that dates cuter girls, that has better luck. And your job is to get as many successful repetitions and as many successful first dates in as possible. And so the idea is each girl you're trying to apply what's in the book and get better with it. That's why you read the book 10 to 15 times and you apply it and you practice it because eventually you get better. Eventually you hit the sweet spot. If you're constantly meeting new women, eventually you can't help it. You're going to come across a girl just for whatever reason you do it for her. She likes you. And when that happens, you can make a lot more mistakes and she'll still want to hang out. She'll still want to date you. So you had 5 dates and none of them went anywhere. Who fucking cares? You had 10 dates and they didn't go anywhere. You didn't get any kissy poo. So what? Maybe it's 50. Who cares? If maybe it takes 100 different women of you meeting and trying to go out on dates before things really click for you. Your process and your journey is your own and it's going to be different than everybody else's. So you got to give yourself permission to be a beginner. You got to give yourself permission to fail. Oh, whoa, hey. You got to give yourself permission to fail. Sorry, you got your leg twist around. You got to give yourself permission to fail. You got to give yourself permission to make mistakes. You got to give yourself permission to let your dog lick you in the face. You got to give yourself permission to be a beginner. And because the idea is you cannot quit ever. You have to always be moving forward. You can't ever stop because it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up in life. There's so many things that go sideways in life. There's so many things that don't go well. And failure is part of life. You got to get okay with having failure and having things not go your way. Any successful person will tell you that it's part of the process and you have to get used to it. You have to understand that you're going to fail. You have to give yourself permission to fail. You have to expect it. You have to look forward to it and have the attitude of what can I learn from it? Because each time you go out on a date, you're going to learn something. And the more mistakes you make, the more you learn things that don't work. And maybe you're one of those guys that has to go out on 100 first dates before you really have a spectacular first date that eventually turns into a second date, and a third date, and eventually a relationship. Maybe you were born really handsome and good looking and charming and outgoing because your family was charming and outgoing. And you go out, the second girl you go out with becomes a relationship and you hook up with her. Everybody is different. Maybe you're a lifelong entrepreneur and you start 5 different businesses and 4 of them fail. Well, if one of them succeeds, then now you're a successful entrepreneur. And so that's just part of the process. You got to get through the no's in order to get to a yes. You got to go through the failures in order to succeed. Because if you stop trying, well, you're not even in the game at that point. And we all have a limited amount of time here on this earth, so you might as well spend it doing something that you enjoy. And if you suck with women, well, you got to work on your social skills. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your body. You got to learn the stuff that's in the book. You got to become more social and more outgoing and be able to strike up conversations with people where any time, any place, anywhere, whether it's in an elevator or you're putting gas in your car or you're at the grocery store or you're shopping at the mall or you're having lunch with your friends. You just never know when you're going to turn around and see some absolutely smoking hot cute girl staring at you and giving you fuck me eyes. So if you go through enough failures, eventually you're going to come across a girl that just really likes you because attraction's not a choice. And by the time that happens, hopefully, you've had enough failures and you've made enough attempts to where you don't really care about the failure. You just care about showing up and being courageous. Because as a man, what you owe women is just shooting your shot, basically. You have to make the attempt. You got to ask her out. You got to get the number. You got to make a date. You got to go for the kiss. You got to go for the seduction. You got to go for the second date. The more you practice these things over and over, I mean, everybody starts out as a novice, as a beginner. Some people progress quicker than others. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouths. Some people are going to be better looking and taller than you. It's like life's not fair. There's not a whole hell of a lot you can do about it other than how you show up and what you do and what you say.
So I actually have a question. It's based off of, say, one of my guy friends. So I have a guy friend who tells me that he feels like he's been struggling with the dating scene. And what happens, like one of the things that he does is that he gets insecure to the point where, say, there's a girl that he likes, and he told me this from prior experience. There's a girl that he likes, and then apparently, I guess, a guy comes along, and he feels intimidated to the point where he feels like it's a competition, and he makes it seem like he's always the one losing. And he also has a crush on one of my friends, and he feels that, oh, if I don't do something about it, someone else is going to sweep her off her feet. And there's times where he even comes off a little desperate, and I try telling him, hey, dude, try to be very calm and collected and chill whenever you're talking to a girl or you like a girl. So what are your thoughts on regarding him thinking that he's always a loser and he thinks he's always competing with another guy?
One of the things I always say is if you hesitate, you will masturbate. And, the problem with your friend is that if they like a girl and yet he never says anything, women are going to pick up on that. They're going to notice that he has no confidence. And so if it takes him many weeks and many months to work up the courage to open his mouth, by the time that happens, she's already made a decision about him that he's too beta and he's too soft and he's too weak. Because every time a guy interacts with a girl and he really likes her and he's holding and hiding that attraction on the inside and trying not to show it, I mean, women are pretty intuitive. They can tell when a guy likes them. But he doesn't have the balls to go for it. The number one strength characteristic in men that women are attracted to is confidence. So every time he goes throughout the world, he's behaving like a guy that has zero confidence. And so when he finally does work up the confidence to open his mouth, by then he's already lost because he spent so much time around these girls not shooting his shot. And what happens is they just determined he's too weak and soft and doesn't have enough courage to the point where, oh, I just think of you as a friend. And so that's his problem. He's hesitating too much. And so when he meets a girl and he likes her, he's got to blurt it out. He's got to do something. He's got to pull the trigger in that moment. He can't, sit there and spin around in circles like a dog chasing its tail because women are going to lose respect for him. And so in your peer group, everybody kind of knows that he's a coward, basically, and he's weak, and he's too timid and shy. And so that is his vibe. That's his reputation. Everybody knows that. And then the girls that are in your peer group that know that, and then he finally works up the courage to ask him out. I mean, he already lost a long time ago. And, it's like, hey, I want to be on the football team, and you show up after the game is over. It's like, hey, man, sorry, you missed the game. So it's, that part of being a man is taking advantage of opportunities as they present themselves. And, if you hesitate, you'll masturbate. And that's another reason why I want you to read the book, Jocelyn, so you know this stuff. So when your guy friends ask you those things, you can talk intelligently about the topic and give them, useful advice that will help them.
Yeah. Another thing I also wanted to add to that as well. So we've obviously noticed that he has no confidence. We've even tried telling him, hey, try to indulge in hobbies, try to get your life together, try to be successful as you can be, work on yourself. And one of the excuses that he uses is that he would not be able to amount to, say, if it's a millionaire or an attractive guy that looks like an Adonis, he feels like he won't amount to that. And he's straight up telling us, oh, I won't be able to be like that guy. Like, he's basically comparing himself constantly.
Well, what you're hearing is what's called a story. And the reason why people don't have what they want in life is the story that they tell themselves. We all have two primary fears: fear that we're not enough, and fear that we won't be loved. And in his case, he fears that he doesn't have what it takes, and he also fears that no girl's going to want him. And so he has no confidence, he's got no courage, he doesn't do anything to help himself. And you got to participate in your own rescue. And what he's basically saying is that his story is so strong and he's so full of fear that every day, instead of being disciplined and taking action in spite of his fear, he doesn't take any action because he's fearful. And if he ever wants to have a woman like him and be attracted to him and respect him and want to be with him, he's got to be a guy that takes action and is courageous. And right now, he's told everybody, and he acts in a way that's consistent with how he views himself, which is he doesn't have what it takes, he's not good enough, and so he's already defeated. He's completely given up on life. And no woman wants to be with a man who has already given up before he's even gotten to the starting line. And you got to participate in your own rescue. Nobody is coming to save him. Nobody's going to fix him. He has to do it himself. And if he's not willing to do that, then, just say, dude, this is your lot in life. If this is how you're going to operate, this is the way your life is always going to be, even 20 years from now. You're going to be bitching about the same things. So his life is, the amount of time he's got left is shrinking. And so eventually he's going to run out of time. So what he does today or what he fails to do is going to determine where he ends up in 5, 15, 20 years from now. And if he's not willing to do anything to shape and change his destiny, he's going to be mediocre his whole life. I mean, most people, the average person, tends to major in minor things. And when they look at, especially like your generation, there's such a huge percentage of people in your generation that have just completely tapped out and given up on dating or relationships, asking girls out. They're not even trying. They're not trying to date. They're not trying to get laid. I mean, when you look at people that are your age that are like have had sex in the last year, it's barely a third of them have had sex. Whereas the girls are having more sex, but most of the guys your age is like they got nothing going on. And that's just indicative of people that have been, demoralized and have already given up on themselves. And, unfortunately, your friend has made a conscious choice that he's going to be a loser his whole life. And unless he starts taking action, 10 years from now, he's still going to be bitching about the same things. More than likely, you guys will kind of leave him behind as you become more successful and you live your lives. Some of you get married, some of you have families. Some of you, your careers take off, you start a business or you move to a different part of the country. And he's always going to be a dude that goes around and tells everybody what basically a loser he is. And his story and his reasons for why he's a loser. And unless he's willing to do something to shape and change his destiny, you can't help him. You can't reach him. Because, from the coaching perspective, you can't care more about somebody's life than they care about their own. And so he does not care about himself enough or his life or his success to do anything different. So you can't help him. And you can tell him that. So, I mean, he could wake up and decide from tonight, tomorrow, for the rest of his life, he's going to be disciplined. He's going to go to the gym. He's going to take care of himself. He's always going to be trying to learn more and grow his reserve of knowledge and develop his gifts, his skills, and his talents so he can increase his income earning potential. And when he sees a cute girl that he likes, even if he's going to go down in flames, at least he's going to shoot his shot, and then he can cross that one off his list. It's like, at least I tried. As a man, that's all you owe women, is you got to at least show up and be courageous and shoot your shot. And he's not even doing that. He's just sitting on his ass with his thumb up his butt, going to all his friends saying, oh, please feel sorry for me, I'm a loser. And so part of the way he fulfills his need for love and connection is basically sharing how unsuccessful and what a loser he is, basically. And everybody's like, we feel so bad for you. You know, do your best. You know, take some action. Go to the gym. You know, go for the things you want. And so he gets love and connection because you guys try to help him, but he's not willing to do anything to help himself. And so you got to participate in your own rescue. And unfortunately, most people major in minor things, and that's just the way they operate. That's why most people never ever reach their full potential, and they settle in every area of their life. They've already given up. He's an ultimate failure because he's not even trying. He's just sitting on the sidelines watching you guys live your lives while he sits there and cries the blues, and then, you know, in order to feel like he's part of the group, he tells you what his latest failure is or his latest failure to take action. And as you guys continue to progress, at some point you're going to get tired of that shit. You're going to get tired of saying encouraging words to him, and because it's the same thing every week. You hear the same shit over and over. And I had people like that I knew when I was younger, and I eventually just stopped hanging out with them because they're not going anywhere in life. And you are who you associate with. And if you're, you know, high achievers, as Nick Saban said, high achievers don't like mediocre people, and mediocre people don't like high achievers. And your friend has chosen to be mediocre. He could choose today, right now in this moment, to be a high achiever and take action, but, you know, for whatever reason, he's decided not to. He likes the comforting story of his life that justifies not doing anything to help himself. So that's where he's going to be at. And if you surround yourself by people that are mediocre and not going after the things that they want, whether you realize it or not, they're going to influence you to be mediocre as well.
And you're not like helping them by entertaining it either.
Yeah, you're
like,
enabling his behavior.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I feel bad for you. Oh, life is so hard.
Yeah. It's like also as his friend too, and as everyone's friend, we try our best to help him out.
Masculine energy grows through challenge. Next time he does it, just say, bro, I'm going to be honest with you, and I say this with love, but you need to stop being a fucking pussy. You need to take some fucking action. Because every week we get together, we all love you, but every week you're just bitching and whining and complaining, but you don't do anything to help yourself. I can't fix you. I can't help you find the love of your life. You have to do that. You got to be fucking man enough to take the bull by the horns and go after the things you want. Or you can continue to cry like a little girl every time we get together, and nothing is going to change. Life happens when you move. Stagnation happens when you die. And he's stagnating.
And by like venting to you, I feel like he's just getting like a temporary pick me up.
Yeah, well, that's how he fulfills his need for love and
Yeah.
connection, because everybody humors him and they listen to him, so he feels like, you know, people love him and care about him.
It's not fixing anything.
He's not doing anything. Every week it's the same fucking story. All you do is listen to him bitch, and then he doesn't do anything. And so you need to tell him, it's like, bro, you need to stop being a pussy. Be a man. If you like that girl, go fucking ask her out. Go down in flames. Who cares? At least you asked her out.
Or just
that
stay
should
alone.
make you feel good.
Or just
stay
lonely.
home.
Yeah. Sit in your sorrow at home.
Yeah, there you
Either
go.
go do it or don't. Like,
Yeah, don't be bringing your fucking pity party around here. Show up and show out, or go sit at home and.
whether you go with her or not, like, you're not affecting me in any kind of way. It's gonna affect you.
You know, you tell them it's because everybody knows how you are in our group, and all the girls in our group know you don't have any courage at all. You won't do anything to help yourself. And women want a guy that makes them feel safe. And when you don't do anything to help yourself, women instinctually know that you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of a woman. There'd be no way you could be a father and a provider to children because you won't even lift a finger to help yourself. And so women aren't going to feel safe having sex with you because they're not going to want to risk a pregnancy. Because you're just flying around doing nothing except complaining about your problems, but not doing anything. Women are attracted to competency, and they're attracted to confidence and competence. And all he does is tell everybody that knows him how insecure he is, how he has no confidence, and what an incompetent man he is. And as long as he continues to be consistent with being that guy, no girl is going to want him. But if they see that he's going for the things he wants, and he's trying, and he's willing to fail, he's willing to look like a jackass and go down in flames and make an ass out of himself and not care and just look at it. Like, I had a situation come up when I think it was 22, and it was right around the time that I had finished Tony Robbins' Personal Power course, his 30 Days of Personal Power. That was, back in the day when I had all the CDs, when it was, I bought it off an infomercial. And so I felt invigorated, and I wanted to be more courageous because there were times where I met women and I liked them and I kind of thought they liked me, but I didn't have the guts to ask them out or do anything. And I remember I was at, TGI Fridays, and I remember walking out, and the shifts had changed, and there was this really beautiful hostess there. And I said something to her, and she said something to me, and she was really smiling at me. And I was like, God, is she beautiful? And then I remember I walked out the doors, and the doors closed behind me, and I got about 15, 20 feet away as I'm walking towards my car, and I stopped, and I said, I got to ask her out. Even if I get shot down, I got to ask her. I got to fucking pull the trigger. I got to take action. And so I went back in, and I think I said something along the lines of, you're really beautiful, you have a really nice smile, I'd love to take you out sometime. And I just remember, I mean, this was like when I was 22 years old, so this is like 32 years ago. I mean, she turned fucking totally red, and she had a beautiful, nice tan. I think she had dark black hair from what I remember. Beautiful girl. Turned beet red. You could tell she got all nervous, and she was so flattered and got all flustered, and she told me that she had a boyfriend. And I was like, well, I said, he's a lucky dude. Have a great day. And I turned around and walked out, and as I walked out the door, I was like, I felt like $1,000,000 because I showed up as a man. And so what I did was that I delighted her. I made her feel amazing. That's why she was embarrassed and her face turned all red. And it was me showing up being a man, taking a risk. It had an effect on her, and she liked it. Even though I got rejected because she had a boyfriend, at least I didn't spend the rest of the week going, damn, I should have asked that girl out. Maybe I should go back there and see her again, because that's the way I used to be. But after that moment, and I was like, she didn't bite my head off. She didn't say, how dare you ask me out? I was like, I would never go out with a guy like you. None of that happened. It made her melt. Me showing up and shooting my shot just absolutely made her melt, made her weak in the knees. Again, she was beet red, nervous, and smiling and kind of giggly, and it was beautiful. I could tell I had an effect on her. It was a good thing. I lit her up, and I lit myself up, and that's what your friend needs to do. He needs to take action and do those kinds of things, and you could tell him that story. Because from that point on, I decided that when I wanted to shoot my shot, I was going to do it, and here we are. And they all lived happily ever after. I don't think I ever saw that girl again, but, for most guys, that's their experience. They see a cute girl and they want to pull the trigger. They kind of feel like she's into them, but they don't. And they spend the next few weeks kicking themselves, and then they go back to that place hoping to run into her again, and they never ever see her again. And they wonder, maybe that was my soulmate. If she was your soulmate and you were destined to be together, you would definitely run into each other. But you gotta take those risks, and you gotta shoot your shot, because eventually you do that and you're courageous enough. When this guy's hanging out in your friend group and some cute girl that shows up in your friend group that nobody really knows, she doesn't know him, she doesn't know what he used to be like, and he just pulls the trigger and asks her out, and she's just, I couldn't say no to him, just like Katie talked about in the book. She's like, I couldn't say no to you. Because it was my strength and my confidence and my certainty. There were guys that whole week were hitting on her, and I was the only one that she gave any attention to.